Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the GCNC Worldview podcast. I am Chris Day, your host and co-founder of the Global Cannabis Network Collective, where each week we sort of take a journey around the world to see what's going on in the business of cannabis globally. And today it's kind of an exciting week for me. I've been in the States for the last 5 months working through a lot of things here, but as those of you who have watched and listened to the podcast for a while know, I'm not normally in one country for that long. So my I'm breaking out the passport, getting it ready for another workout, and headed down to the GCNC's Andean Hemp and Cannabis Trade Summit in Lima, Peru, which is going to be October 17th, 18th, and 19th. So depending on when you're listening to this, it's either about to happen or you just missed it. But keep up on that because what's going on in South America right now is really interesting. We haven't heard a lot out of there in the last year or so, but there's new laws in Peru and new opportunities in both the cannabis and hemp space. So we'll be talking about that more on Worldview in the coming weeks. And before I hit the jet and the tarmac at Denver International Airport, I've got the opportunity today to talk to Mikhail Sagal, CEO of TSRgrow. He and I have crossed paths numerous times in numerous countries, and great forward-thinking company. Mikhail, welcome to GCNC Worldview. Thanks for carving out the time.
Hey, thank you very much, Chris, and thanks for inviting me on to chat with you. And um, I think I agree. If somebody's listened to it and did miss it, I'm excited to hear how the Peruvian and the show goes and how everything goes down there. So, but thanks for having
Yeah,
me here.
of course. Yeah, we're excited about that too. I mean, you and I have crossed paths most recently in Europe, and we've spent a lot of time focusing on the European evolution. Um, but as often happens, it's an incremental progress in a market where, they started out with a pretty solid and flexible medicinal framework there. They've added hemp. Now we're talking about what's the next progression in broader usage um, in a controlled framework. And it's always, I won't say it's predictable in timing, but as you've seen in a lot of markets, like the order of operations is relatively predictable now as markets come on. You kind of know how it's going to go. It's always got some cultural nuance, but yeah, we're excited about that one. I haven't been back to South America in almost 18 months, which for me is quite an extended time period. But shifting into your work and what you're doing, tell us a little bit more about TSRgrow, because on the surface, I think a lot of times people say, yeah, they sell lights. But what is intriguing about what you do is that's an element of it, but far, far, far from the way in which you approach business. And that's what I find particularly interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think it is an important distinction because we do sell we do have lighting solutions, but as we tell many of all of our customers, and if you talk to them, we don't just sell lights, we sell solutions, and part of that solution is a advanced lighting fixture. And I think, from a company perspective, we've been in business for 15 years, developing LED solutions for a variety of applications. And when we looked at the horticulture space, we looked at LED lighting and bringing solutions to the space. But back in 2015, we said, really, where is this going? And important for us, and we think for the market and for commercial cultivation, regardless of crop, cannabis or vegetable or hemp or other, is really data-driven insights and solutions that really allow you to monitor what you're doing, repeat how you're growing, and really elevate your cultivation to the level where you can maximize your yields and minimize your operating costs. And therein lies our solution, including advanced LED lighting, powered by remote power servers, with monitoring and software to control the lighting and introduce advanced recipes and really allow you to crop steer through lighting. And we cohesively bring that together as our advanced LED lighting solution.
Yeah, I think as we talk to people about the cannabis industry, and as people get more educated on the notion that this is a crop, it does fall within the horticulture space. And while it's a lot of things to a lot of people, sophistication in cultivation and how you manage that is important to everything from your business viability to the quality standards that everybody expects your end product to have. And especially in sophisticated medicinal markets, I'm guessing, it's, you know, a key component to success. But when you look at history, 15 years in this space is a long time. How have you seen, or have you seen, a changing attitude about the importance of these types of things, or are a lot of people still just shooting from the hip?
I think, no, you're definitely seeing a changing landscape and perspective and approach. You know, as with anything, you know, as the industry matures and markets saturate, and really this is moving into from a, you know, into a legalized market where, you know, you can operate and sell medicinal cannabis as well as recreational products, and more companies come online and there's more requirements and regulations. You have to adapt and incorporate better strategies that not only track what you're doing, but help you really measure what you're doing and be able to repeat it, because the, you know, your customer, whether it's medicine and patients, or, you know, or customers who are buying it for, you know, recreational consumption, they want to know that the product they're getting is repeatable and, you know, of the highest quality. And then same for the customer, they need to know that they can grow that at a competitive price and in a way that they can sustain and operate. And I think we're seeing that trend where it used to be, get me to market as quickly as possible. Let me build a facility as you know, and I need to be out the door in, you know, 3 months, and it just needs to operate, and I need to grow, and I need to get revenue going. To now, as the markets mature, the prices come down, you see price compression. And now there's a realization that, well, you know, efficiency matters, and
Yep.
and it's important. And you know, as we have been promoting this message of really advanced solutions, we're also in an industry where we don't know what the next regulations are going to come and be. So you
Yep.
need to be prepared with regulations and have the infrastructure to be able to handle and adapt to them. And that's what we're excited about. What we talk to customers all the time about, and we're seeing a changing perspective and acknowledgement of that need.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, for those in the audience who track us, they know, you know, the Global Cannabis Network Collective is built out of companies that are all sort of working together to help expand the global ecosystem. And TSRgrow recently joined. We've certainly been talking for longer than that, but we were excited about that. And one of the key reasons that I was particularly keen to get you involved is because, as I've talked to Tony and Gail on your team and you, it always has really been a solutions based selling approach as opposed to a just a product features and benefits approach. And I think cannabis as an industry overall would benefit from that kind of mindset a little bit more. Like, quit trying to just push a bunch of stuff into a system to end up at the end selling a widget, whatever that widget is, because there's so many steps that are skipped along the way, and we all end up getting in trouble when we do that. And what I've seen out of you guys really is trying to not really sell, but coach, even like coach people through this system and say, yes, you're very smart and you clearly know what you're doing, but here's some things that we've learned. Here's some things that we've seen that perhaps will help you, make you more efficient, help improve your margins, and um, make the industry more sustainable all at the same time, which is also, I think, an important component of what we're trying to achieve. But which markets around the world do you see as sort of the most lucrative right now? And then what are you excited to see, in terms of emerging market opportunities?
Yeah, well, we see different markets in different parts of the world developing, but I did want to just, touch base on something you said. And one of the
Sure.
reasons why we were excited also about joining the GCNC is that collaboration and that holistic view, and really trying to bring things together for long-term success. And what we do is very collaborative, not only in the selling process, but also with our solution. We actually are engaged with our customers after the sale because we monitor our platform and our systems. We help growers succeed. We can check for diagnostics, upgrades, all of these things. So we believe that integration and collaboration throughout is important for long-term success. And we've always believed that in any new industry. So when we started the company 15 years ago, we were looking at LED lighting, and it was a race to reinvent every wheel and, make a brand new screw that had just the right length and a very
Yeah.
siloed approach. And we come from a solution-minded engineering of design for manufacturing, look at solutions. How do we make this better? And I think the cannabis industry and the manufacturing industry as a whole, in any new industry, sometimes fails to really look to the left and the right and say,
Mm-hmm.
well, there are systems in place that have worked very well in ag or other automations or things. And how can we work together to make this better, faster, and better for all, and more profitable for all? And that's really how we've looked at solutions, and we work with our clients to help them be successful. And that's an important distinction on, why we don't sell lights. We do sell a solution. And as we evolve into the different markets, we're excited about, not only the States, but Europe especially. We see as really a market coming online, not only in you got Germany and, even Czech now talking about bringing in social clubs and moving from a medicinal model to recreational. But it's interesting, over there, we're excited because not only the opportunities, but they really think things through. I mean, you can always argue that you could do things better, but
Yep.
they take approaches that are long-term in effect. They take a long time to implement, but when they implement it, it's pretty much a well-done solution. Same with the Swiss. When they develop a model, it might take them 10 years. However, when it comes into law, it has considered everything, and that is now a final and cohesive element that you can work with. And in the European market, they really look at, EU GMP, they look at data, they look at consistency, they look at how to do things in a way that's going to allow them to grow long-term successfully. They look at systems and the facility and how the rooms are run, and really be about efficiencies. And that is an area that we're really excited about, because we can make an immediate impact cohesively and integrate into any of the systems that people use for the building management, but also we have the elements in our solution that drive that. So we're extremely excited about Europe and where that's going. We've made a lot of strides and inroads, not only in Germany, but also in the Netherlands, and then also now in Portugal and other countries, and moving east, to some of the Eastern countries as well. And, we're excited about that. And I think that's really been our focus, is bringing, and that Europe and that industry is really, they embrace the types of solutions and data that we can bring into a system to them.
Yeah, I think just observationally, I mean, doing the whole crystal ball futurist thing in cannabis is always dicey. But as I
If anybody
look
can
at
do
it,
it, you can.
I don't know, but I think what we're likely to see as laws change and evolve, even in the States, is that some of that pragmatism is going to backfill into North America.
Yes.
Um, but it is going to take time. I'm actually working on a neat project that not in a position to talk in detail about yet, but next June, we're working on a project that's really going to highlight sort of the skill sets of global regions, right? So, sort of that process driven pragmatism that we see happening a lot in the medicinal markets in Europe, taking the branding and marketing expertise and the creation of brands that is, frequently recognized in the United States as being very strong, looking at some of the cultivation expertise and history that comes out of South America and bring it all together so that we create this platform for people to communicate about it live and in person, as well as through conversations like this. I'm excited about that because so often markets and individuals within those markets get very heads down and start saying our way is the way, it is the only way to get there, and you have to do it like us. And I think every single market I travel to, and you do the same, we hit a lot of them. There are best practices that could be applied globally that would change the environment, and there are worst practices globally in every market also that you could change the industry if you would just get rid of that thing and replace it with something else from over here. So I'm excited to see how the global ecosystem continues to develop. But I have seen the same things. While it has taken a long time, the European markets are evolving in ways that are less chaotic and more pragmatic, which I think is to the benefit of that region of the world over the long term. While
I, I,
in the
I,
U.S. we spin a little bit. So
yes, but I will say that the one thing I've seen is that as Europe develops their systematic approach and really looking at how to grow, there's a lot of history and a lot of good growing and a lot of great practice and knowledge base, trials, tribulations, and information that really we've been growing here now for, in a commercial scale successfully here in Canada now for some time. And I think there's a lot of knowledge and a
yes,
lot of opportunity to bring that, expertise to Europe and
yep,
help, it's an opportunity when you say leapfrog, but almost take what we've learned here, but all of the expertise that's here and then apply it there with the systems and the approach that they're taking to really ensure the market. But it's important that Europe and emerging markets also don't ignore the lessons learned and what we've done and also the expertise we have here and embrace that to bring that over because it's going to help them succeed much faster and also avoid the potholes. And that's the key
absolutely,
is that they avoid the potholes. And I'm seeing
yep,
sometimes they still say, well, we can do it all, but and then they have some of the same pitfalls. But I think, they're embracing the systems, they're embracing solutions like ours, but and they're also embracing knowledge from the US, but there's an opportunity to bring that knowledge and really help them succeed
yes,
and avoid many of the pitfalls that we've seen in the race to get up and running and build cultivation
yeah.
facilities here.
No, for sure. I actually this morning, it's very relevant to this conversation. I was talking to someone who's been in the California market for a really long time. And I spend a lot of time actually ragging on California because of the way in which the pricing models have worked and taxation. Like there's a lot of things that have gone wrong in that market. However, there is an immense amount of experience and knowledge and opportunity for people to transfer some of that as well. And so we were having a conversation this morning about, hey, how do we sync this up? How do we take what you know and what you've got in a way that really engages with folks in other parts of the world? Uh, and I'm actually excited about that conversation and how we can flow it out for the very reasons you're talking about. I tell people I am opportunity centric and geography agnostic, because I just want to see it all expand in pragmatic ways that help really create access for people to get what they need and want,
Yeah, and I
which
think
is not always enjoyed by regulators, but you know what? It's the
no.
name of the game. So.
Well, I mean, you still have to be, things still have to operate, and people still have to have some joy.
Yes, that's right. We
Yeah.
can find some. Actually, this industry, in spite of all its challenges, provides a lot of joy. And I don't just mean that in the consumption space. I mean, the people in the businesses that we work with and see every day are pretty phenomenal entrepreneurs.
Yeah. The I will say that, we're always looking to build, even you're building an ecosystem, but part of what we try to do also is bring, an ecosystem to any customer we talk to, because we ask them, how are you doing? How are you watering? What's your fertigation strategy? What are you doing for HVAC? What are your long-term goals? Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? Because we have, it's in our interest for our solution for you to operate as long as possible. And so where can we support you and introduce you to, you know, specialists and industry experts that have done this well and succeeded. So we're always, and this is why we're always networking and trying to talk to, growers or, genetics guys or HVAC or, architectural A&E, but really bring in solutions and help customers succeed. And that's part of our, that's also part of not just a light, we actually help to really help our customers find that ecosystem or have access to the experts that we know or that or anybody else that we know that we can point them to that's going to help them succeed.
Yeah, something I've noticed observationally out of the consulting industry, which I spend a fair amount of time in because I work with a number of companies, both GCNC members and outside, and helping talk through how do you scale a business. But it wasn't all that long ago where anybody was putting out a shingle claiming they were a cannabis industry consultant, and then they'd come in and they would rattle off the list of people that you just mentioned should be found and working with you and helping you build out facilities. And then they'd say, yeah, for $100,000 or whatever, I'm happy to introduce you. And I'm kind of happy to see that era has mostly sunset. One, because it was a lot of wasted money, but two, the natural ecosystems that come through collaborative and responsible partners in building your business are way more sustainable than sort of this shotgun approach that was taken. I think not. I mean, this has been a pretty dramatic shift, even in the last 3 or 4 years, where businesses are now maturing to the level that they can say, yes, we have a product, but we also have this network that helps make our product work better. And I think it's a responsible approach for businesses that are looking for vendors to really have that conversation. Not just what is your price point and how fast can you get it, but what else are you going to bring to the table to help me make sure this gets done right, to monitor it ongoing, to fix it if something goes wrong. A lot of those discussions aren't happening as they should always on the front end. It's just like, just tell me the cheapest and quickest way to get it there. So
We do see a lot of
anyway.
that still. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's still a lot of that, but I think that's the mindset that I think is really on especially on the medicinal side and in the European side, they really want to know how can that be a long-term relationship.
Yep. Have you spent much time looking at, I mean, you referenced it quickly earlier, but didn't really go down that rabbit hole, but have you spent much time looking at the Asian markets, seeing what's happening there? What, if you have, sort of, what's your impression of progress there?
I think we've looked at it, and from our perspective, there certainly are opportunities. I mean, you see things happening, in Thailand and other Asian, Thailand especially is, from a perspective over there is really blossomed as a market. But I think there's also still, I guess you could argue there's concerns all around the world of different political elements coming in and saying they're going to change it and eliminate it and move it back to where it was before. You're seeing that in Europe and Germany and other places as well. But I think we just it's a market that is there, and we see opportunities there, and we see it developing. But at the same time, I think the approach to cultivation and some of the things that are occurring probably are, I would argue are maybe more along the lines still of the early days of get to market, build it out quick. Let's really just build a room, put in the lights, let's get it going as fast as possible and start generating revenue. And so I'm not, for our solution, when we're looking at more expansive and more evolved industries that are looking at it from a long-term medicinal and operational perspective, from pharma to commercial cultivation, I think the market isn't quite ready yet for us to pursue there. And I think there's enough opportunities in the European space with a little bit within closer reach for us. And so I think those markets will evolve, but I think they still have some challenges.
Yep. Yeah, I know one of our speakers that's coming down to Lima in a couple of weeks is Morris Beagle, who produces the NOCO Hemp Expo, and he's very deep in the hemp side. And I've been stalking him on Instagram this week because he's in Japan, and there's some trade missions going on in Japan on the hemp side. And there's been ongoing discussions about how that's evolving on the cannabis side over the long term as well. So I agree with you. A lot of it is sort of setting the stage, I think, for these additional levels of sophistication that tend to come into markets at later dates. But
I
I'm
think
anxious
Japan,
to hear.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Japan, and even South Korea, some of those markets, I mean, they're very advanced in indoor cultivation, especially strawberries and other things, and really don't have a lot of space. And so I think that when they move into cannabis and cultivation, it will be, they will have systems and solutions, and it will be a very articulated way of doing it, and I think probably advanced at the same time. So
yeah, it's just going to be a matter of social acceptance, I think, and bringing that in and then elevating the market across it. So all super interesting. That's why I wanted to ask, though. I know you guys poke into all of that in these different regions as they grow. So what is the next phase for you guys as you roll out the European efforts, and you're also continuing to build out in North America? Where do you see TSRgrow growing into over the next couple of years?
it's a great question. I think we're excited about I mean, we see us growing in a number of different ways. And I think as facilities grow and evolve, I think you're going to see we expect to see a much larger adoption of our approach to centralized power and monitoring and really driving the backbone of a facility. And we're very focused on that. We see a lot more opportunities in food, especially in the US, developing greenhouses and other things. I know, there's a lot in Canada, but we see opportunity. We see a lot of development there as we move into, spectral tuning, but also centralized power monitoring. And we believe that whole centralized system and platform is really going to be a long-term success we continue to believe that to be a long-term success in the industry. And I can see us participating in a number of different ways. And that could be from just that whole backbone, powering facilities, being kind of the micro DC grid of the facilities. We see, opportunities in working in kind of that space. And really, really driving that whole adoption of I won't say a DC bus, but a DC grid system. And, we could really be a backbone of that. And we see that as a direction that we're looking at and taking, because, the lighting is important, but that whole power, the monitoring, being able to recipe and drive crop steering and integrate into building management systems with our platform, we can do that. And maybe moving, being a little bit more agnostic or supportive of lighting systems, but really driving and being the backbone of a facility is where we see the long-term success and the opportunities and growth.
Yeah, I remember it's probably been 7 or 8 years ago now. I was talking to friends over at the Resource Innovation Institute in the Pacific Northwest, and we were discussing resource allocation and optimization for sustainable cultivation facilities. So power, water, soil, like all of these different elements, and how we were excited about the day where this became a very mainstream conversation, because the industry had grown to the point that those types of business operations discussions were really critical to long-term success. And while I won't say I believe everybody has adopted this yet, I will say that it is an ongoing conversation now, and it wasn't then. And I am looking forward to seeing how that grows. So I see companies like yours that are really looking at those integrated solutions and encouraging the discussion on responsible resource usage and optimization, really to be the future of business success. So I'm really glad that you came on today and we could talk through it. It's great to be able to continue to champion these types of topics, and hopefully as your efforts grow in Europe and elsewhere, we can have you back on again and maybe delve in next time into some like specific case studies on how people are really applying this and results of the solutions, because I think that would be a great follow-up conversation in a couple of months to really talk deeper on how that stuff gets applied.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I mean, just, brainstorming here, but just even thinking about or having a discussion about what could you do if,
Right.
We talk about, crop steering on the fertigation side. We talk about crop steering on the lighting, but what if you brought in, integrated into, CO2 is becoming so expensive. How do you optimize that and integrate cogen and, really operational? Like, what if you had a really comprehensive solution? What would what would that look like? So.
Right. Yeah. And I saw so yeah, I mean, we're off in the weeds now, but that's okay. I saw a solution last year that was still nascent and in development, but I always get nervous when people start talking to me about AI, right? It's like everything, sometimes it's real, sometimes it's just a buzzword, sometimes people are just like throwing garbage out and see what happens. But using these machine learning tools to really pull all these resources together and help us humans get ahead of the game, right? In identifying where is the leak happening, because that, whether it's resource, time, energy, any of those, where are there leaks that we can plug to help us be better and faster and more productive while maintaining quality margins and all of that other thing. Like, the technology that exists now to do that is certainly beyond what my little brain can handle. But fortunately, there's a lot of smarter people than I am out there sort of helping to integrate these things. And I agree with you. That'd be fun. We actually should bring that up on one of our GCNC monthly meetups sometime and let people sort of bat that around for a while. That would be fun.
Could be a great whiteboarding session, and who knows what comes out of it,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to this week's episode of GCNC Worldview. Mikhail, thanks so much for joining us. Check out TSRgrow, y'all, when you're at shows and conferences and even online. They're easy to find and great people to work with. So thanks so much for coming today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. I mean, we've only been doing this now 3.5 years, so you're behind. Do it, hit it, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.
thanks, Chris.